We do have traces of this rider's sword in other myths, Odin's spear, and Krishna claims to be the same as the highest truth, which would be the rider blue 12:12, but without the testimony that defines Christ as these two things, the beginning and end, and he who opens so no one can close and closes so no one can open. The rider cannot effectively demonstrate his claim is true, and society can close what he claims to open. That is why the word of God must be acknowledged first, then we can use the truth he conquers with as a historical measure and see where others say the same ting or a different thing. Another problem every Christ will have is precisely this. If 10 historical Christs are lined up and they all make the same claim, I am Christ. If this claim and their arguments cannot categorically separate one from the other, then Superman the godless can close heaven. He can say, therefore, neither of you are Christ. If everyone gets to make the claim and people simply flock to the one they like the most, they are all false. That is why the story bears witness to the one who defeats his accusers. And to defeat this situation, he has to be separated from everyone else, otherwise he cannot be identified. And that is what the clock does. It identifies the only possible beginning where the tree of life they have not taken from yet, we take from when we ask this question. What is true for the tree of life? Now, you eat, you die is simply truth and reality planted in humanity before the fall. It's not true because we believe in God. Like Baudrillard claims, what if God can be simulated? God who used to guarantee this exchange was true. What if we don't believe in God anymore? And God is simply another image in this self-referential game humans are playing. Once society has shifted from God and Christ to orientate them, and they are both reduced to belief, a simulacrum, then Jesus is not actually Christ, even though he is the most popular one, because this whole project is rooted in belief and not reality. Once we do the exchange, we take the truth we receive from the tree of life. If it takes, it gives. If it gives, it takes. Now the rider can open so no one can close. And when he opens his mouth and the truth performs this function, the stories simultaneously identify him. If it's him, he opens. If he opens, it's him. If you know one, you know the other. This is how the rider will exclude all other possibilities. And if he does not have this attribute, we end up with multiple claims where one cannot be separated from the other. Which means Superman the godless can close when the rider tries to open. He says, therefore, none of you are Christ. It's based on belief. This is exactly the problem the clock counters. By saying it has only one answer, there is only one rider and only one possibility. He opens so no one can close and closes so no one can open. It means he is the actual and only Christ. This Christ is the same as Jesus Christ. They are different human beings living in different times. But by this same knowledge now, once we know the answer, how to identify Christ, we look back in history and at what Jesus says, and we find this sword in his mouth. And we identify him as the actual Christ. But those are not two different Christs. It's Christ's first and second coming. Other than Jesus, Krishna is the other big claim that seems to have a right to this claim. And as explained in the document, once we know the word of God in the Bible is true, we know the rider on the white horse cannot not be the word of God. And this problem had 4 possibilities. One is true and the other is false. Mutually exclusive. Both are false, neither can appear or validate their claim. Or both are making a true claim, meaning it's mutually inclusive. Both confirm the other. Since the word of God has appeared, we know both are false is false. That leaves us either Kalki is false or Kalki and the word of God are the same historical writer. Here we see where you suggest a different might appear, and it's not an exclusive truth. If not exclusive, we end up with a writer who cannot validate his claim. And believers continue to believe, and atheists continue to close the plains of heaven from man, saying there is no God other than a false God. Therefore, it would be self-defeating, demonstrating a different can exist in the historical context we already have. Earth has its history and timeline here, oriented to this writer, and he defeats historically all the other gods, and even Superman the godless. That means he has a right to the claim he is making. It's not based on air. It's based on his sword is superior to all the other gods and men. Do you think it's wrong that he claims the glory that belongs to him, or is it fair to claim what belongs to him?